What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls PvP. Alright guys, we're back in the forest. Now, if you guys are familiar with the channel, then you would know that last week we did a two-part Forest Hunter series, but it was me hosting as opposed to me being a part of the Covenant. Right. And actually, although a lot of people enjoyed the two-part series, there were, a relatively small number of guys who felt like, I was bashing the Covenant, that I was being unfair, and I had a biased opinion and all like that, right? So what I intend to do this particular time is switch the tables up. So in other words, instead of speaking from the host's perspective, I'm going to speak from a Forest Hunter perspective. Now, some of the complaints that I've heard, or some of the comments that I've read, basically said that, the only reason why the Forest Hunters are basically, bloodthirsty, hornet-ringing, spell-spamming whatevers, is because they say that they're just a reaction to what they meet in the forest. So basically the only reason why they're hornet ringing and miracle and sorcery and pyro spamming is because that's what they have to deal with. So I said, you know what, cool. What I intend to do in this series is do a two-part upload with no hornet ring, no pyro, no sorceries, no miracles, to demonstrate that, look dude, now granted, you may run into those types of pieces of you-know-whats, but at the same time you can overcome it. One reason I say that you can overcome it is because you should know that to the extent that you can last for a few seconds, more than likely you'll get some backup. Number two, you guys have to realize that, and you'll even see it yourself, although I will meet a number of guys who are using hornet rings, at least in this two-part series, I really didn't meet a lot of guys with hornet rings. Now, were they there? Yeah, and now actually let me take that back. When I say I didn't really meet a lot, I'll say relative to the total number of invasions that I had. Now, keep in mind that my statements are not relegated to the experiences that I had during this two-part series, because actually I've been in the Forest Covenant all week, right? Ever since I'll say since Monday. I'm kind of don't work during the work week. I'm on the weekend, so I usually start playing somewhere around Tuesday through Friday. So all week, for the most part, I've been in the Covenant doing tons of invasions. And even though you might find some dirty, nasty, ridiculous stinker gankers, you will also find that only the bottom feeding ones will resort to hornet rings, right? Because in a lot of my experiences, I actually didn't run into that many, and like I said before, that many relative to the total number of invasions. Now, I'll tell you what I did run into. Obviously I ran into some spammers. Don't have a problem with that. Obviously I ran into some desperate guys, just kind of bloodthirsty, ridiculous gankers, yeah. But one thing that irritated me the most, and perhaps, we'll kind of run into some of that footage, because I don't really remember, I just kind of pieced all these matches together and I went from there. These guys who are so desperate to where they are also using the dragon bow glitch. Now, one thing that I'll say to whomever is responsible for exposing this dragon bow glitch, I really wonder, why did you do it? Like, seriously. Like, I understand whoever put out the information for this ridiculous dragon bow glitch, the one to where in pure dragon form you have a bow and you can basically just backstab someone to death. One hit KO for the most part. Just with it doesn't matter how much vitality you have, it doesn't matter. As long as you backstab them in full dragon form with a bow in hand, they will basically die. And I really do not understand why anyone would put that information out. Now, I'm under the belief that to the extent that you kind of have a relatively decent, what I would say, following, I guess. And I'm only saying following based upon number of subscribers and number of views. I mean, you kind of have a responsibility to, kind of, I don't want to say censor, but just kind of pick and choose what you put out there and what you don't put out there, right? Because even though some guys may put out some useful information, I mean, some of this information just simply spoils the PvP experience and shouldn't, in my personal opinion, be necessarily exposed. Case in point, this ridiculous Dragon Bow. Ever since the information has been put out for this hideous, ridiculous Dragon Bow glitch, a lot of times in the forest and sometimes, in the kiln or other places, you'll find some bottom-feeding full dragon form guy, super desperate, with his little bow in hand, usually with the fog ring, and they just go around backstabbing people. And it doesn't matter whether you have 1,000 vitality, 2,000 vitality, or the max of 27 vitality. One BS from the Dragon Bow glitch, you were dead. Bottom line, you're dead. So granted, I ran into some guys using the Dragon Bow glitch. I ran into some guys with their, Hornet rings. I ran into a lot of those. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. This is what you run into. And actually, one thing I will say about my experiences as a forest hunter, it was actually fun. It was actually super duper fun, right? And even though I don't like it when I'm on the host end, it's actually fun doing these for a number of reasons. Now, one of the reasons is because, a lot of times I really get disgusted with doing what you may call, what some of these guys call honor duels or just duels in general. Because, sometimes when you have duels, it's not really like an all-out war. Right? You have to play by these certain rules. You have to go by these certain guidelines, which is cool sometimes. But at other times, I mean, as you guys can see my playstyle as a forest hunter, you just want to go buck wild on anybody. Right? And a lot of times, when you're a forest hunter, or when you're in the kiln, kind of doing a kiln cleanup, you really get an adrenaline rush. Because since you are faced against two people, I mean, you're basically at the point to where you can do whatever you need to do to survive. And this is my viewpoint on it, right? Because I've read that some guys, they make the comment of, so what, if you're fighting two guys? It's all about honor. It's all about principle. So what if you're fighting two guys? There's just certain things you shouldn't resort to. Case in point, there's a guy after I released my montage. He basically said, why would you, upload a disgusting video like that, for the most part. And he didn't say that verbatim, but that was pretty much the gist of what he said. And I was like, dude, I mean, what are you talking about? So he's basically saying, look at all the backstabbing, look at all the pairing, it's awful. And I'm like, okay, now, does this guy not see that in many of the clips, it's me versus two other people? And a lot of the clips, I'm all by myself, right? And this is the same thing that I was kind of talking about last week when I was the host. Listen, dude, for a lot of you vets out there and you guys have these kind of elitist beliefs, listen, don't put that stuff on me, right? Because, as I've said in plenty of videos, I play according to my own rules. Sometimes I want to participate in the fight club. Sometimes I kind of want to do the whole formality of the bowing, one backstab per match, all that and whatnot. Sometimes I just want to go buck wild, right? I mean, flat out, because invasions are fun. I don't know if I ever explained this, but, prior to me doing uploads, and actually for any of you guys that are kind of familiar with the channel when I first started, I was one of those Hornet Ring dudes. Right? I ran around with my rapier and Hornet Ring all the time. And I've just kind of gotten to a point to where I evolved. Right? But the reason why I did that was mainly because all I did was invasions when I first started PvP. You know, I never did any formalities. I never did any, you know, organized fight class. I never did any of that. It was always fun with me doing invasions. And that's what my content was about when I initially started this channel. But as time went on, I kind of got introduced to, you know, various people who love Dark Souls as much as I do. You know, my kind of play style, I would say that it evolved, right? I went from using a rapier and hornet ring to, you know, not using a hornet ring, you know, switching up from the medium roll to the darkwood grain ring. Now I'm fast rolling on like 95% of my builds. You know, I went from using castings and pyro to basically trying to get as proficient as I can as a melee only type of player. I went from, you know, I've made a wide variety of changes. I mean, I've even gone from using mostly the same type of weapons to basically experimenting with every class of weapons. Right? Case in point, I'm using the Black Knight Halberd. Right? And as I said before, you really do not see a lot of people, well actually, I rarely see a lot of people using the Black Knight Halberd. So, you know, this whole process of evolving, in my personal opinion, has been for the best. Now, just because my play styles, right, which includes both offensive and defensive strategies, have changed, and I would say that I have improved. You know, when you compare how I play now to how I played in the past, you know. But it's still fun doing invasions. It's still, you know, regardless of how I play, it is still absolutely fun doing invasions. Right? It is a blast. I mean, you could just kind of go to town on whoever you want to go to town on without any restrictions. In most case scenario, you might just get hate mail or something. Right? Because notice this. You guys realize how fun it is? And granted, I lost. Right? But do I get an adrenaline rush when it's me all by myself and I'm faced against two ridiculous ninja flipping darkwood grain having hornet ringing, you know, Black Knight great axe wielding noobs? Right? When I'm trying to piece them up, even if I lose, the fact that I'm backstabbing them, parrying them, riposting them, all of that, man, it is absolutely fun. Right? So one thing that I want to say is that being in the Covenant has reminded me of, well, all except for that. Anyway, being in the Forest Covenant has really reminded me about, you know, how fun PvP actually is, right? Win, lose, or draw. Because in a lot of the cases where I'm losing, I'm having fun. Obviously, in a lot of cases where I'm winning, I'm having fun. And in the cases where, you know, we may both kill each other simultaneously, I'm having fun. You know, but I don't know, it's just something about doing invasions that just seems a lot more exciting than the whole formal thing of, you know, the organized duels. Now, this doesn't take anything away from duels. Duels are fun. You know, putting your little redstone down, doing fight clubs and all that. It's definitely fun. But one thing you don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry about anyone saying, hey dude, you fished. Hey dude, you stun locked. Hey dude, you did this. Hey dude. You don't have to worry about that. Right? So I would say that they both have their pros and cons. And basically what I would say is, if you just want to have fun, do invasions. If you want to improve your gameplay, I would say kind of go to the Berg, maybe. But if not the Berg, definitely go and do some, you know, participate in some fight clubs, participate in some tournaments. Because based upon my experience, when you have these restrictions, it will force you to improve your offensive and defensive strategies. Right? So that's how I see PvP for the most part. You want to have fun? Do invasions, right? Do random invasions, you know, become one of the Dark Moon Blue dudes, you know, go to one of the Forest Covenant dudes, do something like that. If you guys kind of want to improve your game, do something a little more formal and organized. Right now, I'm not saying that invasions won't improve your game, But what I am saying is, because the goal during invasion is basically to kill the host at all costs, I mean, a lot of times you're not really focusing on your tactics. You're just basically trying to get in there, Wrath of the Gods, Hornet ringing, whatever your tactic is. You don't really care. And sometimes when you play like that, you know, you just really do not expand your skill set with regards to Dark Souls PvP. Right? Alright, so enough ranting about the benefits of doing formal PvP matches, in addition to the benefits of doing random invasions. Alright, so we're back at it, and we're in the forest. Right, and I just got, basically just got my clock cleaned by one of those ridiculous Black Knight Great Axe users. Alright, and we're faced against another one. Now, one thing about my characters, the vast majority of the time, my characters have, well actually they use medium, I would say medium armors, right? Because I really don't go, you know, the whole light armor route that often. But for the most part, I use like a medium set with maybe 1 or 2 pieces of what they would consider to be heavy pieces of armor. Case in point, this is my swag build. Right now, I know I read some of the comments. Some of you guys may call it some kind of, kind of whatever you want to call it, some kind of Roman guy, right? But that's not it. He's a undead. He's an undead. Basically, an undead swag warrior. That's what I call him, because I'm just really digging the armor set. Now, what are the armor pieces that I'm using? Well, I'm using the steel helm, my little swag buckler shield, which for the most part, I mean, I don't even use medium shields anymore. Mainly because it kind of makes me feel good to know that I'm somewhat surviving with me using a shield with some of the lowest stability in the game. As a matter of fact, I think the buckler has like 50 stability at a plus 15, which is horrible. Right? But it goes to show you guys don't need a Shield of Artorias, right? You don't need a Havel shield. You don't even need a medium shield. Now, I am not knocking those shields, but what I'm saying is a lot of times I like to play kind of with the odds against me, because it makes me feel good when I am successful during the match. Now, as I was saying, my armor set, I am using a hollow, I think it's a hollow soldier. I think it's a hollow soldier, either the hollow soldier or the hollow warrior chest piece. Right, the Silver Knight bottoms, Silver Knight leggings, Giants gauntlets, and the steel helm. Right, and that's my swag build. And basically, once the Prepare to Die edition is here, I'm going to have 2 swag builds. Right, because for most of you guys who are familiar, I have Sir Martyrs von Steuben, right, the one who rocks the Elite Knight helm. Chester's trench coat with the rose and the tie for the swag effect, and he also uses the Guardian gauntlets and the Guardian leggings. Right, and this will be my other swag build, right? But this will be more like a swag warrior, and it comes in 2 versions. Right, I have the same build, and actually when I say the same build, I mean I have a character dressed in the same armor that comes in both strength and dexterity. Right, still no castings in neither. And I'm not really a fan of castings. You know, I've kind of gone so long without using castings. Now, I will use one. I have caster builds, but it's very rare that I use them. I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of not into the castings. You have some guys who are fan of castings. You have guys who are fan of buffs. You have guys who are fans of, pyros. Me, I'm just a fan of pure melee, bottom line. Right? I'll just have my primary and my secondary weapon. I'll have a bow, maybe a crossbow, and a shield, and I'm good to go. Right? Alright. Now, one bad thing about this covenant is that in a lot of cases, you'll get matched up against a super high level guy. Right? I mean, and I run into that a number of times. You know, I've kind of run into some guys with, you know, they'll have, well, actually that was a pretty good parry right there. And he almost caught me with that. And actually I tried to hit him with that roll as much as I hated it, but I needed a quick clutch move because, well, no further explanation is needed. Alright, as I was saying, talking about my build, so I have two characters that have the same appearance. You know, one is a strength build for what you guys are seeing now, and the other is a dexterity build. And then I have my Sir Martyrs von Steuben that I can't wait until October 24th because he'll be on the consoles. And you know, outside of those three builds, because Sir Martyrs will also be a strength build in addition to this strength build and my dexterity. And then I'll have 7 open slots for, I don't know, something else. Maybe I may create 2 or 3 casters. Actually, I won't even say 2 or 3 because I don't even really use caster builds like that. I'll say 1, 2 at the most. And then the rest, kind of, I'll just maybe leave open to experimentation. And, you know, that's basically what I'm looking for. You know, I'm really looking forward to the 24th. You know, I kind of came back to the consoles for a little while. And even though, you know, it's kind of frustrating because I have to remember on the consoles, they still ninja flipping. Right? They're still doing all these ridiculous things. It's just a lot more PvP. Right? So, you know, when you're kind of deciding between the PC version and the console, you're almost stuck between a rock and a hard place. Or at least I am. Right? Because on the one hand, you have the PC version that has less lag than the PS3. Right? I can't make an argument for Xbox. I've never experienced Xbox. But it has a lot less, lag than the PS3. And it has the new items that you can experiment with. On the other hand, the rate of invasions are poor. Bottom line. Okay, so those are the benefits to the PC version. Less lag, you know, new items, new equipment. Okay, new areas to fight in. But on the other hand, you have the consoles. Still ninja flipping. Still hornet ringing with the 50% increase. But at the same time, you get invasions up the wazoo, which is very exciting because, I mean, it's just really frustrating. You know, when I'm kind of on the PC, I'm excited, I'm ready for PvP, and I'm going like 10 minutes in between matches, especially in the Coliseums. Now, I don't know if it's improved because I haven't really been on PC in a while. You know, maybe a week. I'll say at least a week. And actually, I missed that parry. And I don't know why I missed him. I kind of should have hit it, but I think I'll probably get him on the next time around. I kind of remember this match. So, yeah. And my question is, you know, what are these guys really going to do? And actually, I'll just ask the same question I asked last week. What are these guys really going to do once the DLC is here? Right? You'll see a lot less Darkwood Grain Rings, and you'll see a lot less damaging critical attacks once the Hornet Ring has been rightly nerfed. And I can't wait. And another thing that I can't wait to see is whether gankers will still exist to the extent that they exist now. Because I am under the belief that most of them exist mainly because they have their little Darkwood Grain Rings and they have their little Hornet Rings. But without your without your A plan and your B plan, what will you guys be able to do? So the day is drawing near. And with that day drawn near, you know, there's going to be a lot of disappointing guys. And, you know, why do I really say a lot of guys are going to be disappointed is because from what I see, many people are not really preparing for the change that's coming. right? Because, you know, just like Sam Cooke said, hey, that change is definitely coming and is around the corner. So for all you guys that are so dependent upon the Darkwood Grain Ring, you know, all you little ninja flipping giants, all you little ninja flipping Havels, all you little black iron ninja flippers, I mean, one piece of advice from the brigade, I would suggest that you guys start getting rid of your little clutch move Darkwood Grain Ring, right? Get rid of it and get practice with creating builds that does not need it, right? Because like other things, you want to be prepared. You don't want that change to come and then all of a sudden you put the control, you know, you're putting the controller down, right? Because I still need a lot of people to beat up on, you know, myself and others. We need a lot of people to beat up on and have fun with regards to PvP. And you know, we just don't want the numbers to diminish because you guys' B plan have basically been, you know, nerfed. Because so many of you guys depend so heavily on that Darkwood Grain Ring that, I mean, I don't know. Some of you guys are really going to be a rude awakening come, let's see, what's today's date? Oh, less than a month now, right? Because today is the 28th, 29th, somewhere around there. So, yeah. So as I was saying, I'm pretty much digging the Covenant. I'm really enjoying it. I think it was a lot of fun. Right? Doing all these high-speed invasions. Sometimes the odds are in my favor, sometimes they're against me, but hey, just another day as an invader, basically. Right? Alright guys, so this is pretty much the end of the first video. Go ahead and stand by for the next part of the series. Martyr's Brigade is out.